Disclaimer, I am not a dietitian, I am not a doctor, I am not a nurse, I'm not a professional. I'm just gonna share with you guys from my experience, my whole gestational diabetes experiences and what suggestions I can make based off what worked for me. And there is no cookie cutter way to do this. Like, one thing might work for me, won't work for you. One thing might work for you and not for me. And another thing I learned is one thing might work in one pregnancy and it won't work in the next. So just keep that in mind. I wanted to make this video completely just on my gestational diabetes because if you're anything like me, when I got diagnosed, the first thing I did was go to YouTube and see if anyone had any videos up about just like managing their diabetes, and particularly I was really interested in what they ate. So I've had baby brain like really bad this pregnancy, and I was trying to film like a full what I eat in a day and it just wasn't panning out. Like, I would always forget at least one meal or some snacks or something. So I don't have a full what I eat in a day example, but I do have examples of things that I eat, and I'm gonna go over different things, but there's just a few pictures of some that I did remember to happen to catch, and yeah, I'll include those. So when I first got diagnosed, you know, I kind of felt like I'd been giving some sort of like death sentence and was really like upset about it and thought that it was gonna drastically change my life. And I just want to say from like right from the get-go, it's not that bad. Like, you'll be okay. It's really, if anything, it's annoying. It's an inconvenience, but it is so easily managed, and you know, it's actually really good for you and the baby and the type of lifestyle you adapt to when you have gestational diabetes, versus I can just imagine if I didn't have it and was pregnant and giving myself that freedom to sort of just, you know, be more lenient with the things that I eat. Overall, my pregnancy probably wouldn't be that healthy, right? And this way I have to stay accountable to me and the baby and to my doctors, so it just kind of keeps me in a really like healthy lifestyle, and it's, I don't know, it just simplifies things for me in the end. But it is annoying because it is an inconvenience, and I can't just eat what I want when I want. I can't give in to cravings. You know, I have to have a structured sort of way that I eat. So what that looks like is I have to have 3 meals a day and 3 snacks a day. So when I wake up in the morning, I need to test my blood sugar right away. And I test my blood sugar with like, it just looks like this thing here. It's a little pricker, and you just put a little needle inside. It's really small. It doesn't hurt that bad, but I'm not gonna say it doesn't hurt. Like, it's just, it's a little like, oop, ow, done kind of thing, right? It's just annoying because you have to do that quite often and for months, so by the end your fingers are just sort of like, I don't know, done with it. Right? I'm sure you can imagine. But that's basically, this right here is the most annoying part of the whole thing, just like having to remember to test my sugars before I eat. So yeah, when I wake up in the morning, I test my sugar right away to make sure it is not too low or not too high. You just prick your finger and it goes on a little strip, and then the strip is plugged into your monitor. Mine looks like this. And I know that in Canada, the way that they calculate the units of blood sugar is different than in the States. So for example, in Canada, or at least where I live, anything below 5.3 when you wake up in the morning is good. Anything below like a 3 is kind of too low. But in the States, it's a different system, so I know the numbers are like higher, just because it's per different unit measure. But yeah, so in the morning I wake up, I want to make sure I'm below 5.3, and then I'm going to eat my breakfast. So I eat my breakfast, and what breakfast looks like for me on a typical day is granola and unsweetened almond milk. That's my go-to because it's really fast, and I worked this whole pregnancy, so I really like to just like eat something and get out the door, especially I'm focusing on feeding my toddler breakfast, and so I just want something really easy, right? That's just one thing I can have. Another common one would be like peanut butter with toast, or I've had like oatmeal. Sometimes I would put protein powder in my oatmeal. Eggs and toast, and what else? I have been able to have pancakes on occasion. I just can't have too many pancakes, and I have to make sure I have enough protein. So I definitely have to eat that with eggs. So that's all really good things. Like, I don't have a problem eating that stuff. The issue is, like, you can't just wake up and sit down and eat pancakes and pour a bunch of syrup on them, you know? Like, I have to have a balanced breakfast. It has to have, like, protein and carbs, and I have to use, you know, no sugar added jams or syrups, or if I'm gonna have anything like that. So as you can see, my granola is a protein infused granola, so that's why I'm not having it like with eggs or peanut butter or any sort of additional protein. I'm just having that like protein enriched granola, so it's kind of like a 2-in-1 for me. Personally, that's my favorite go-to for breakfast, just because I find that I'm not super hungry first thing in the morning, but you have to eat something when you have diabetes. You can't just like wake up and start going for the day and eat an hour later, because your sugar will drop and you'll get in trouble. You'll get into like a hypoglycemic sort of situation, right? So for me, I just eat that. It's light, it's easy, it's good to go. So then, an hour after I've eaten, I need to test my sugars again and make sure that they haven't spiked from eating. So for me, I have to make sure it's anything below 7.8. Anything above 7.8 is too high. And the way that it can get too high is if you've had too many carbs, or if you didn't get enough physical activity in. So for me, like, I just have to walk around to keep my sugars down. A 10-minute walk is basically enough. Even if I'm doing housework or, you know, just sort of like some chores, I find that that also can keep my sugars under control as well. But it is best if you can actually go for a 10 to 20-minute walk. I find that that always keeps my sugars well balanced. And so 2.5 to 4 hours after I have breakfast, I need to eat a snack. Usually, because it's in the morning, it's like on the closer end of the scale, so I will eat like 2.5 later. So I'm gonna have 2.5 hours later, I'm gonna have a snack, right? And usually I will have like a protein bar, or I will have Greek yogurt, or cheese and crackers, or like veggies and hummus, anything that's, again, has to be carbs and protein balanced, right? I don't have to test my sugars before and after I have a snack, thank goodness, so that's really helpful. And then again, a few hours later, I need to test my sugars and have lunch. So for lunch, often I would eat at work. So I work at a Mexican restaurant, or I did up till today. And so I would have like just like 1 or 2 corn tacos, or I would have like a salad bowl or a rice bowl, just making sure that I have a balanced, you know, protein to carb ratio, and that I'm not like going too crazy. I can't have like a giant burrito, obviously, with rice and the tortilla and everything in there. I just have to have, you know, the lighter items that are on the menu. But in terms of sauces and things like that, Mexican food's been pretty safe. Sour cream and things don't really seem to bother me too much. I do find if I have things that, like with a lot of cheese though, the fat content in cheese can make my sugars not spike instantly, but spike later on. For some reason, if you eat high fat content foods, it's a slower metabolizing effect, but your sugars will spike like later on, maybe a few hours later. I've learned that the hard way, so and yeah, and then I test my sugars again an hour after I've eaten, and then I have to have a mid-afternoon snack a few hours later, and again I'll have the same things, usually Greek yogurt, or I love to actually have cottage cheese with frozen berries. During the summertime, being pregnant, that's a really nice, like, cold, refreshing snack. And then again, a few hours later before dinner, test the sugars. And dinners for me can be a whole range of things. One of my go-to dinners has been just to have some whole wheat pasta with some, like, I don't know, sausages or like meat sauce, and I just have a really, really small portion of the pasta and like mostly sauce, or any sort of like rice with veggies and meat, like stir fries are good to go. If I'm eating out, I can have like noodle soups. If I want sushi, I just have like the cooked sushi, obviously, but I try to get like 1 whole wheat roll with a side of like a cooked chicken dish. And Subway's a good go-to if I'm stuck in an eating out situation. Just the 6-inch on whole grain's pretty good. I don't have the deli meats though, but I eat their like fully cooked, sort of like chicken breast meat. And then an hour after dinner, I test my sugars again, And then there's one last snack, and that one usually is before bed, like an hour before bed. You need to eat a snack, which is a little bit strange. It was hard for me to initially wrap my head around because any healthy living plan I had ever been on before was like, you do not eat before you go to bed, but when you have gestational diabetes, you're fasting throughout the night and your sugars will drop. So you need something to keep you going throughout the night, even though you're sleeping. And actually your snack is quite large. It's about the same carb and protein content that they ask you to eat for your lunch and dinner. For my plan it is, at least. So I will have a variety of different things. Sometimes I have a sandwich, sometimes I have peanut butter and toast, sometimes cheese and crackers, sometimes some whole grain chips with cheese, and have like a little like healthier version of nachos, etc. Right? If you guys want like more examples of things that I eat, just comment below and I can give you tons. I'm just like going off the top of my head. And then, yeah, so after that, I just go to bed and I don't have to test my sugars. So that's like a rundown of what I eat and like my schedule for testing sugars. I also have to keep track of everything. Like I have like a journal where I write down like the times that I eat and like what all my blood sugar levels are and things like that. Let me try and give you guys like so this is where it all is. And if you're wondering why I'm not testing all throughout, what happened for me was I was able to control my levels pretty well. And so after a certain point, my doctors agreed that I didn't need to do the whole like before and after breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. I only had to do it 3 days a week. The rest of the days of the week, I only had to do it in the morning. So that's why you don't see it like every single slot. And then, yeah, those are all my meals, and I wrote the times. So yeah, I'm pretty like I look at breakfast, it's like every day, it's like granola, 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 milk, milk, milk. My snacks are protein bar, protein bar, protein bar, cottage cheese and berries, protein bar. Lunch is like, I'm not sure, some things I do abbreviations for and then I can't remember. A roast beef sandwich, 2 tacos, a rice bowl, a mini burrito, a quesadilla. I'm at work for lunch, if you can't tell. Snacks after work, more protein bars, Greek yogurts, cottage cheese and berries. For dinner, a rice with pork chop and salad, potatoes and souvlaki. And then for bedtime snacks, a peach and Greek yogurt. I had a peach and Greek yogurt 3 days in a row. I must have said peaches. Stuffed pepper, leftover stuffed pepper. So what I found, like another thing that's kind of more annoying than anything, is that for me, I ended up eating a lot of the same foods all the time. So I would get really bored of what I was eating just because I find things that work and keep my sugars, controllable. So I'll stick to that because it's safe, but it's actually like pretty boring by the end. I'm like trying to film and the light keeps changing because the sun's going down, so I apologize. So something else I haven't talked to you guys about yet is the insulin part of things. The first time I had gestational diabetes with my son, I was able to do exactly what I just described to you guys and keep everything under control. My levels never spiked, everything was fine. Round 2, baby number 2, I did the exact same thing again, and it didn't work that way. My numbers were still spiking, and it was really frustrating at first because I'm like doing all this hard work, doing everything I did last time, and not seeing the same results. The doctors explained to me that it's actually really common for women with their second pregnancy and their second time experiencing gestational diabetes for that to happen because, well, I'm a little bit older, my weight was affected a little bit, and like just your body, your hormones, things are different the second time around, and sometimes you just can't help it. It's not your fault. So I had to take insulin this time, and I was horrified. I'm like, in my mind, I'm imagining like syringes and like just like big needles, right? And like pulling and like just all this stuff that was just like really scary to me, and like having to give myself injections, and I just thought it was gonna be like this really, really horrible thing. And I was really wrong. Basically nowadays, if you have to give yourself insulin, it's like in this little pen. It's like an EpiPen, the bottom just comes, and like there's a little tiny needle that you put on the end, and you just click it and in goes your insulin. It's so easy, and actually it hurts way less than having to test your sugars in your fingers. because the needle that you use to inject is actually so thin and tiny in comparison to the one used to prick your fingers. So once I like realized that and gave it to myself the first few times, I was like, this is actually not a big deal at all. And something that was amazing was once I started taking the insulin, not just like the trigger times I found throughout the day that my sugar was spiking were controlled, but also just generally overall, all of my numbers seemed to really settle down. Just that giving my body that little extra boost, that little extra insulin really helped me to be able to function normally and like just be able to respond properly to all the foods I was eating. Because I found like with my first time, things like Greek yogurt, if it had flavoring in it, I could eat that. It wasn't a problem. Round 2, I went to do the same thing and it would spike my sugars. And it was so frustrating because I'm like, I ate this last time. It wasn't a problem. It's something the dietitian recommends. The protein in flavored Greek yogurt should counteract the carbs and be able to keep you balanced and not spike. But for some women, that's not the case. And so that was happening to me. But once I started taking my insulin, not necessarily before eating Greek yogurt, just in general, it didn't spike me anymore. So little changes like that happened and I was actually really relieved. And yeah, I ended up being totally okay with taking the insulin and I was pretty good. I only ended up needing to take it before dinner time every day and before bedtime every day. So in the end, I had to always test my sugars before those 2 times as well, every day no matter what, because obviously you have to know where your body's at before you inject insulin into you to make sure you don't drop too low, right? And there's a lot of different types of insulin. Some are fast acting, some are slow acting. The one I take before bed is slow acting. It's to keep my sugars from spiking all throughout the night. And then the one I take before dinner is a fast acting one. So basically that's the gist with the insulin situation. Yeah, so what else can I say? I hope you guys have gotten something out of this, and I hope if you have just found out that you have gestational diabetes that you can get some inspiration out of this and just don't be too scared and like, you know, just go with it and things in the end will be okay. It's really gonna be fine for you and baby, and you get a lot of support. Like every 2 weeks I have to go to the gestational diabetes clinic and see a dietitian, a registered nurse, and an endocrinologist. I just call her my endo, but basically she's like a diabetes specialist type doctor. And so they're constantly giving you feedback. You can constantly be asking them questions. At least with my system, how it is where I live in Canada, that's how we're supported if we have gestational diabetes. So it's really helpful. And overall, between the 2 times of having diabetes, I've learned so much about nutrition from having a dietitian work with me for that amount of time, you know, both times, that I consider myself fairly knowledgeable in that area. But like I said before, like everyone's body responds differently, so there's not like a cookie cutter thing that you can do. You just have to find what works for you. There's different things that you can try and suggestions that people can make, and that's what I'm doing right now, is just basically giving suggestions, but you really have to test it out for yourself and see if it works on you or not. So I hope you guys were able to get anything out of that. If you have any questions, please feel free to like leave any comments. I'm pretty open to discuss any of it with you. And thanks for watching this video. So much stuff to show you. I'm so excited. I'm just excited, okay? I'm excited.